Animal Crossing has been one of my favorite game series since like the dawn of time. As a person who doesn't really make friends IRL, being able to chit-chat with animal buds and decorate the house I'll never be able to afford for real is just a fun experience for me. And a little bit ago, my sister texted me saying I should do a stream, but instead of playing New Horizons like everyone else, I should do a stream for the original Gamecube game. I turned down the idea since I think Animal Crossing streams are hard to do unless you're villager hunting, but the idea of doing an edited video on the animal friends did sound fun. So I booted up the GameCube and set the date to March 20th, 2020, the same day that New Horizons was originally released, and got excited to see what adventures would await me in my new animal-filled village. And hey, if you end up liking the video, feel free to throw it a like. It's totally free, and it helps me out a lot, and I'm bad at asking for calls to action, so just, you know, please. I remember that New Horizons had basically become the only thing I cared about when it had first launched, and it kept me in its grasp until the next big game pulled me away from it. So I wanted to see what all I could get up to in a month with the original Animal Crossing. Here is my adventure log. I met Rover on the train into town and did the usual tutorial chores for Nook. My starting villagers were Kitty, Punchy, Gabby, Tank, Butch, and Savannah. And yes, I drew them all as humans because that's the sort of thing that gives me joy in life. This was one of the days that I spent the longest amount of time playing. Nook's chores take quite a while to finish. On behalf of Tom Nook, I'm to tell you to spend more money. Do it. You don't want the alpacas to visit, do you? Excellent. You know, something I hear people say often is how they miss the villagers being more aggressive and mean, like how they are in this game, and to a degree I do get it. Kitty shitting all over me because I'm too poor to buy a carpet is certainly funnier than the unending pleasantries we get in New Horizons. Delivery. Here you go. You, where have you been? If you'd taken 1 minute longer, I would have lodged a complaint with Tom. Okay, how about we calm down a little bit? I went to a lot of trouble to find this carpet. It perfectly matches the sheer elegance of my room. Most common folk don't know this, but you simply have to have carpeting and wallpaper that set each other off. Just by the looks of you, I bet your wallpaper and rug look positively awful, you poor thing. I mean, you're not wrong, but you don't have to be mean about it. Well, thanks. Thanks for your ratty old carpet. Of course, even this carpet may be too glamorous for a hovel like the one you've decided to inhabit. You must make do with what you have, no matter how pathetic it may be. Look for rugs at Nook's shop. Hurry up and pay off your house, then at least I won't have to feel so embarrassed seeing you. Wow, Kitty, how about we calm the fuck down a little bit? But personally, I play Animal Crossing to get away from mean people IRL. If I wanted to be treated the way Kitty treats me, I'd go back to working in retail. Betty has moved into the village. I will say that you get new villagers pretty quickly in this game. Honestly, during these early days, I was so eager and excited to get more Animal Crossing footage because I hoped there'd be a new villager in town. You can have up to 15 at a time, too. It's a lot of villagers. I had wanted to get a fishing rod, but Nook was only selling a shovel, so I was out of luck. Made me actually miss crafting for the first time ever. At this time, I began to suspect Kitty was the leader of sort of like a Yakuza gang, with Punchy and Gabby as her subordinates. I also decided Punchy and Gabby were dating because they both had the same song playing in their houses, so yeah. Frigga has moved in, and you know what? I really don't like the snooty villagers in this game. You don't have to shout, I'm right here. I have delicate ears, so show a little restraint. Pardon, your name is what? Twiins. You simply must be joking. What a sad name. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean it, or at least, I didn't mean for you to hear it. My name is Frigga, isn't it a fabulous name? No, it's stupid. You're stupid and I hate you. My Yakuza theory continued into this day as well, with Kitty and Punchy both asking for Savannah to return some items to them, but her passing them both to Betty, who seemed so nervous about the situation. It started to give me Odd Taxi vibes. By the way, you should watch Odd Taxi. It's so fucking good, please watch Odd Taxi. I also began a quest to plant some flowers for Butch on this day that I somehow fucked up to the point that this took way longer than it should have to complete. Gracie was in town, and I was sort of surprised at how I just accepted how rare these sorts of events are in this game. We complain about how we wish Red was in town more often with New Horizons, but there's always at least someone hanging around selling stuff or looking to buy. Here though, without warning, there's just suddenly a giraffe with a convertible that I just have to stumble upon. I did my best to clean Gracie's car for her. Time's up, halt! Sort of a so-so job. The only real things of note that happened for the day was that the trend continued where Kitty will pass borrowed items onto Savannah, who in turn passes them to Betty. It makes me feel like Savannah has roped her friend into this Yakuza business to try and lighten her load or something. Punchy also gave me a cowhide rug, which is pretty fucked up, honestly. Nook's still not selling any new tools, so I decided to just buy the net and shovel in hopes that it would make him restock the next day with a fishing pole. I also finally finished Butch's flower quest, now with a whole field of them surrounding his door. My Yakuza theory is easy to keep afloat, since as long as Gabby, Punchy, Kitty, Savannah, and or Betty interact in some way, I can interpret it as part of the narrative. For example, Punchy had borrowed Betty's camera, and I can just assume he left some threatening message for her on it. Easy. Not so easy was dealing with the size of the map. It's huge in this game, and it's so easy to lose your villagers within the forest. They'll just wander off to some corner with nothing in it, and there's no way for you to know where they are. If you're looking for someone, you just have to run through every acre and hope you find them sooner rather than later. It's a total pain in the ass, and the ludicrous amount of trees clogging up the edges of acres makes it even harder to move from square to square. However, despite the difficulties, I managed to pay off my first loan to Nook. Yes! I've paid off all my loan, I'm completely debt-free! Ooh, wow! Ooh, so purple! The new house upgrade wasn't the only thing to be excited about. This ended up being quite the busy day. Nook was finally selling a fishing rod, which meant I could do some fishing and donating to the museum. Sable also started to open up, which is always exciting, but I couldn't help but think about how, once you befriended Sable, there's really no other reason to check out their shop every day in this game. They don't have a new selection of clothes to buy every day, like how New Horizons does. Once Sable opens up, there's just nothing else to do here. I found Punchy and Gabby hanging around the river together. Was this a date? Were they looking for places to bury a body? Both options work. And finally, I wrote a letter to Kitty, and she wrote me back and gave me an ugly wet floor sign in response. It's been 1 week. We've got a new villager, Pate. Or, I suppose it's supposed to be pronounced Pate, but I think calling her Pate is funnier. Sable also told me about her parents' death, which means I don't need to talk to her again. Nook was having a sale, so I made sure to play when that was happening. Concrete wall? This is what your special sale is doing? A fucking hideous concrete wall? It's also the only thing I can buy during sale time? Nook, you suck. You are bad at this. After the trials and tribulations with Nook, Kitty then scammed me out of some money for ugly furniture, so not a great day overall. I sent Kitty a harshly worded letter and some Uggo furniture in return for all the construction equipment she's been giving me. I found Gulliver, but I was far more interested in the brawl happening between Savannah and Kitty in the background. Oh, jeez, Gulliver. You girls just didn't care? Oh, fuck. Kitty's depressed again. What is happening? What do you mean, are you a real sailor? And Savannah's mad. What is happening? Poncho has moved in. I'm Poncho. Nice to meet you, Twiins. Nice. Your eyes are crooked. And then he ran around giving other villagers the same shirt, which ended up being very popular. I was finally able to buy an axe from Nook, and so was able to go on a deforesting spree. Oh! Well, awesome! That night, Kitty replied to my letter. She didn't like it. Is this your idea of fun? Sending letters to me you know I won't understand? Well, I'll have you know, I think you're terribly mean. Mean, mean, mean. Au revoir, Kitty. Was the word construction too difficult? But that's okay, cause KK was in town. I opted to let him decide what song to play, and he chose KK Lullaby. Not really what I wanted, but it's better than my house being weirdly silent. Nook was renovating the shop on this day, so I was limited in what I could do with my teeny-weeny pocket space. The most interesting part of the day was when this happened. Oh, Tank's never inside. Tank? Nook's renovated shop is nice. I bought another axe and continued my plight against the trees, getting stung by bees in the process. Oh. Oh, bees! Hiya! Oh, I missed! Oh. Since it was rainy, I opted to do a lot of fishing, trying to get more specimens for the museum. On the topic of the museum, it kind of sucks in this version. The displays are small and pretty boring, but really the problem is Blathers and how you have to do fossils. Blathers can't identify fossils, you need to mail them to another museum and wait a day to donate them. And making sure you always have paper so you can mail off your fossils each day is sort of a pain. And also Blathers' talking too much gimmick is way more egregious because they also force him to speak super slowly. If you donate something new or try to donate something that's already in the museum, his text halts to a crawl and there's no way to speed it up like how you can most of the time. I don't mind that Blathers has a lot to say, but Jesus, don't make him say it in slow motion too! Previously, Frigga had asked when my birthday was, and I chose a nearby date, which ended up being this day. Tank met me in person to gift me the NES Donkey Kong game. These were super cute, and it's a huge bummer that the newer games don't have something like this. However, it also ended up being the last day of the month, which meant Nook was doing a raffle. I couldn't sell the multiple ugly shirts and umbrellas other villagers had given me. While this raffle idea is cute, it's a bit annoying how often this game strips away your access to Nook's shop, totally kneecapping what you can reasonably do in a day. Apollo also joined the village. This was April 1st, which I didn't expect anything special out of. Turns out Gamecube Animal Crossing loves April Fool's Day. This is so mean. Why would you do this? Nook also pranked me, and I think it's fascinating that the primary target to prank you with is the fact that it's a constant struggle to make money in this game. Of course, that's always the primary goal of Animal Crossing, but in this game specifically, it feels like you receive a lot fewer bells when you sell items, and that it's a lot harder to get things to sell, too. Gracie was in town again, and I made sure to step up my car washing this time. I earned myself an official Gracie Grace designed shirt. This shirt is so boring for being a Gracie shirt. Allison, come look at this. Come look at this stupid shirt. Alright, so I just washed Gracie's car. Okay. And she gave me a Gracie Grace designer shirt.
Alright.
Okay, so tell me, between the two, the one that I'm currently wearing,
little lime girl.
Kiwi, but it's and this one. So which one do you think Gracie designed?
I sure hope it's not this.
It's not. She designed the Kiwi one, but it's like, it's so whatever. You're selling so much. You're a billionaire with this shit. We also got another new villager, Elmer. Honestly, by this point, my Yakuza narrative began to fall apart. There were now so many villagers that trying to find a way that they were all involved felt like grasping at straws. And there's only so many times you can help villagers return the same collection of cameras, napkins, and glasses cases before it stops having any real meaning behind it. My house was getting pretty cramped at this point as well, and they only give you 3 storage spaces, so paying off my debt started to become my top priority. Another new villager joins us, Barbara. I actually really love Barbara's design, but having 3 snooty villagers is a pain in the ass. People complain about how repetitive villagers are in New Horizons, and they aren't even really wrong about that, but it's way more egregious here. Each villager personality has like 2 different things they can say for any given occasion, and snooties specifically just don't know when to shut up. They blatantly talk the most of the villagers, and hearing the same 4-paragraph essay of a greeting 3 times a day is dull. Plus, them being some of the meanest personalities, 3 of them is just too damn many. It's at this point I started to get pretty tired of the fetch quests you can do for villagers. What started out as a fun way to see who interacts with who has started to feel more like a chore to spend your time on, cause there's nothing else to do in the village. I'm stuck running around this giant map with nothing in it. I could fish, talk to villagers, or hope I spot a bug to catch. Why even give me so many huge plots of land that nothing happens in? I had found myself thinking about how I could decorate the forest to help with my Yakuza narrative, or just to have landmarks to look at. But you can't do that! This whole wide world to run around in, but you can't do anything with it. And so what else are you gonna do each day other than retrieve some borrowed items for the villagers? Belle has moved in as well. We'll try to keep her away from Punchy, but similarly, I'm starting to lose interest in the new villagers. Villagers have always been my favorite part of the series. If someone mentions they play Animal Crossing, I always ask who's in their village or on their island, and like, no one else cares as much as me, apparently, cause they'll answer with, "Oh, I've got a red guy, I think it's a squirrel," as if that narrows it down at all. But getting so many villagers in such a rapid succession here, and with them all behaving functionally the same, they're beginning to feel like just another character who could theoretically borrow someone's Game Boy that I need to go find. I was still waiting for Apollo to make an impact with his personality, and we'd been given 3 more villagers since then. The only other major event from the day is I went into Pate's house for the first time. Why is your house so scary? KK was in town again, and this time gave me KK Country. Again, not really my first pick, but it is better than KK Lullaby. I also chatted with Elmer, who, even though I hadn't seen him leave his house at all since he'd arrived in the village, decided to paint my roof a new color without asking me. I forgot the villagers could do that, so now my house has a stupid baby blue roof instead of the cool purple one I wanted. Just makes me think, I shouldn't talk to my villagers then. The Cherry Blossom Festival began today, which was exciting because that meant it would help break up the normal day-to-day monotony of the game. Unfortunately, it actually made the game basically unplayable instead. You can't really talk properly to any villager participating in the festival, so if one villager asks you to retrieve an item from someone who's at the town square celebrating, you can't do anything about it. You have to wait for another day and hope they aren't celebrating anymore. There's not even anything for you to do for the festival. Tortimer gives you some special furniture, but that's it. You can't eat the snacks, you can't dance, you can't catch the pink leaves with your net. It's just a thing happening while you're stuck doing the same chores you do every day. Aurora has also moved into town, which is actually a lot of fun, because back in the day when we were growing up, my sister and I had Aurora and Frigga in that village too. We had convinced ourselves that they were related, and it's neat to see them together again here. The festival is still going on. Since that limits who you can talk to, I decided to actually do some proper rock hitting for these days. Money rocks have always existed in Animal Crossing, but it felt like such a chore in this game that I'd been avoiding it most days. Not only is digging a lot slower, so setting up some holes to keep you from getting pushed away takes a lot longer, but also there's like 15 rocks, all scattered randomly across this giant-ass forest. But it is the most efficient way to make money, and the tiny size of my house was really starting to annoy me, so rock hunting I went. Final day of the festival. I did a real shit job at some fishing. Fuck that fish. Fuck that stupid fish. I then sold my day's catch for only 5,000 bells and decided that's enough for the day. Tank had finally stopped his 72-hour-long dance marathon, which meant I was finally able to retrieve Aurora's picture book. Except he didn't even have it, so thanks for nothing, Tank. This quest took me the longest to do since I had to wait out the festival, and all I got for it was a green lamp. Yo, come over here really quick. Okay, I want to show you her house. Why is it like this? Why does she have KK Dirge playing? However, all the rock hitting I'd done had paid off as I was able to finish up my loan. I opted to get a basement so I could use it for storage. A successful day of crossing animals, I'd say. My storage basement looks a bit shit, but it meant my main room finally no longer looked like a hoarder's house. As I ran around the forest doing my usual chores, I spotted Tortimer hanging around the river. Turns out he'd decided to add another bridge and wanted my input on where to put it. And I decided that he chose this spot, so that's where the bridge was going. So now we've got two bridges right next to each other. It was also on this day that my IRL animal friend, Vincent, had decided to eat a piece of string, which was bad because it could theoretically get tied up inside him and really mess him up. So I spent the rest of the day monitoring my cat and trying not to panic. Mr. Vincent pooped out the string with no issues, which meant I didn't need to be filled with dread anymore. This was also far from the only, bad thing that happened to me during the production of this video, so stick around till the end to hear me talk about how cursed it's been for me to work on this video. Back to the game, the new bridge is just as dumb as I expected. So there's this bridge right here.
Yeah.
Here's a bridge.
Yeah.
And in order, if I'm talking to Gabby,
Yeah.
and then I want to come over to the museum, I need to not only get down from the giant cliff, but I also need to cross the river. and now let me show you. So, and this is the second bridge. This bridge has always been here as well. Wow. It sure is a bridge. And here's another bridge that he decided to add in. Up here in the corner, right the fuck next to an already existing bridge. I paid off my next loan to Nook, which meant I got to wake up to a purple roof again, and a bigger room. I spent a good chunk of time redecorating, which really just meant pushing everything against the walls and facing the fact that I don't have any tables. Honestly, the furniture selection in this game is both impressively large and also disappointingly small. There are a lot of different things you can decorate your house with, but so many of them end up being just the same chair but in a different color or something. It feels the most samey looking at your villagers' houses. There's nothing distinguishing them between each other most of the time. The gyroids will be the most notable element of their house, and then the rest of it will just be a collection of random things. The villagers' houses definitely have a lot more personality in the newer games. Gabby gave me some cherries, and I decided this was a good opportunity to plant them to be able to make way more money being able to sell the fruits off of the new cherry tree. My new cherry tree is dead, and I'm gonna choose to blame Gabby for this. Nook has also upgraded his shop again, and I do miss this. If there's any one thing I think is undeniably flawed with New Horizons, it's the fact that Nook's cranny stays in its dinky, stupid second level. In this game, Nook upgrades 3 times, and each upgrade gives more options for the player, from new clothes to new paint for your roof when Elber decides to ruin your house again. A part of me gets that they probably wanted to encourage more crafting, and so opted to keep the store limited to force the player to craft more, but ultimately, I'm still disappointed that the island doesn't get the lavish shopping experience that this game does. I ran around for actually 7 minutes trying to find Kitty to give them their watch. Finally, I just gave up and saved and quit and started the game back up. This resets villagers back to their house and is a good way to find someone who's gone AWOL. I also jumped ahead to nighttime at this point too, since KK was in town again. He gave me KK Swing. It was at this point I started to miss KK Disco and KK Robot Synth. There was a whole lot of nothing happening on this day, so I think now might be a good time to talk about the police station. It's a feature I do miss, mostly because I like Copper and Booker, but really it's just not that useful of a facility. All it does is act as a lost and found, and as a kid I always felt bad taking the items from here because they weren't mine, you know? Honestly, it's doing the exact same thing as the dump, which I also missed so much that I made my own in New Horizons, but the police station comes with a bunch of dialogue you have to skip. I'd love to see Copper and Booker come back though. Maybe they could have unique confiscated furniture that you can't find elsewhere, or maybe they can offer a service that lets you choose the next villager to leave your island. Sahara was in town. The way they work in this game is you need to spend 3,000 bells and give Sahara a carpet in exchange for one of Sahara's items. It's honestly a bit of a ripoff since you don't know what flooring you'll get and you're spending an awful lot for something that may be boring or ugly. I also made a sign so Vincent could be in the village too. As I was nearing the end of my adventures in the village, I decided to write a letter to each of my villagers. I wanted them all to have one last chance to leave me with any parting words, one last chance to really make an impact and be a notable character in this video, you know? So I sent them all the same letter. I'll be done soon, so say goodbye. This took a long-ass time, by the way, 15 minutes of writing and sending letters, so I guess it's time to eagerly wait and see what my villagers say in reply. None of my villagers had responded when I first woke up, except for Betty, who came in with a curveball. Oh, Betty with the Uno reverse card. I'm moving. There, I said it. I'd tell you where I'm going, but if you were to come to visit, I just know I'd cry. Please forgive me for going. This is how things must be. Betty. I was surprised that she just suddenly left. I'm used to villagers informing you beforehand that they're planning on moving. Perhaps if I'd chatted with Betty earlier, she'd have mentioned it, but as it is, she was simply gone, leaving nothing behind but a shitload of flowers I had to buy and plant for her. It's nice to see her escape the pseudo-yakuza she was pulled into by her friend Savannah. I'd wish her luck on her travels, but I know she doesn't appear in any more games after this. Here's hoping she just ran off somewhere where even Kitty couldn't find her anymore. And surprisingly, we already had a new villager moved in, Hazel, who actually had her name changed to Sally starting in New Leaf, and a different squirrel who used to be called Sally was changed to Callie, and now there's another different squirrel named Hazel, and I don't know what the hell happened to cause this ring of confusion with the squirrels, but now I had Hazel Sally in the village. Nook was also selling a painting needed for the museum on this day. It was quite a busy day, huh? Back in the day, you could receive paintings just like any normal piece of furniture through the store as gifts from villagers. While Red would sometimes sell artwork, he really just played the role of another shadier market for the day, selling other furniture as well. Filling out the art section of the museum is one of the more tedious things to do in New Horizons, especially if you don't have Red set up at Harv's Island. But it felt like a total pipe dream to complete it here on the Gamecube. After the usual running around chatting with villagers with nothing out of the ordinary, I found that the post office was full of letters, and after watching Pete carry them away and send my handful of fossils to the museum, I eagerly ran back home to see what my villagers had to say. What was the deal with your letter, man? If I had a bell for every note I didn't get, I'd have some bells, that's for sure. Could you be a little bit more clear? Is this what your idea of fun, sending letters to me you know I won't understand? Well, I'll have you know that I think you're terribly mean. Hi there, I totally tried to read your letter and all, but I just couldn't get it. Was it like some sort of code or something? Or do you not know how to write? Look, I give up. I tried my best to understand your note, but I just couldn't do it. Couldn't you try to write in plain English next time? It would make things easier. Yeah, listen, Twiins, yeah, when you send a letter to somebody, it really helps if the letter makes just a tiny bit of sense. Do we understand each other? Don't irk me. Cool. Awesome. I asked my villagers to say goodbye to me, and they turned into fucking YouTube comments. It was at this moment I couldn't help but think of all those people complaining about how they wished the villagers would be mean again, and I think I gotta reiterate, I don't. I found myself not particularly interested in helping out my villagers today for, you know, reasons, so I spent my day running around doing some rock hunting instead, and writing a hopefully less awful letter to Hazel Sally. I headed back home to find more cool hate mail waiting for me. Hey, listen, I think you're nice and all, but don't keep sending me these creepy letters. I mean, the last one made no sense, and it really freaked me out, seriously. Talk to the hand. I simply wasn't able to comprehend the meaning of your bizarre letter. It might help to use easier words. I can't be bothered to look up every word you write. What in the world are you talking about? That letter boggled my mind, big time. Next time, if you get it into your head to write me, send something easier to read. Well, thanks for the note, I guess, but here's the thing, I didn't have a clue what you were trying to say. Next time, try to make some sense. Simplify, dude. I suppose I should explain these. The AI of the villagers in this game isn't all that impressive. While you can theoretically write anything you want in a letter, they are only programmed to understand so much. It honestly makes the letter writing system feel really kneecapped. Like, you may as well have just had preset letters with how easy it is to just confuse your animals in your village. It seems my problem is actually the fact that my letters to everyone were only one sentence long. The AI doesn't get that, and so I got a bunch of mean letters in the mail. And it is pretty funny that they ask for me to simplify my thoughts when the thing they all couldn't comprehend was effectively, "Alright, now say goodbye." But on the other hand, it's quite the bummer to have my villagers' parting words all end up being them shitting on me. Really makes me think this whole village could burn for all I care. It's got too many trees in it anyway. Gulliver had washed up on shore again. I swear no one ends up in this village as often as Gulliver, but his furniture is usually really cool, so nothing wrong with that. Other than that, it was a normal day of ferrying menial items from villager to villager. Who even lends out a handkerchief anyway? Why do so many villagers need to borrow someone else's glasses case? What are you doing with it? Watches too! Why take them home? You don't need to hold on to someone else's watch for any reason. Who wants to borrow a used hanky? I started up right before KK's performance and I got KK Mambo. It's okay. At this point, I was really just bored of doing the same thing every day for the villagers. Really, I'd gotten bored of it around the time the Cherry Blossom Festival was happening. Without the tasks given by villagers, there's basically nothing to do in the game, but the tasks are always the same every day, and after swapping everyone's Game Boys and cameras around for this long, there was simply nothing to really look forward to with it. Most of the time, your reward for doing quests is either an ugly shirt or stupid fucking paper. I hate getting stationary after spending 5+ minutes running around lost in the forest trying to find a villager who's plopped themselves in the middle of nowhere. Stationery is so cheap. You can always afford to buy some for yourself, and usually there's at least one stack of it in the dump every day too. It's useless as a reward! I'm bad at math. I don't know how this is the way it worked out. I just know I went from March 20th to April 20th, and that's why there are so many days in my adventure. I also want to mention at this point that Hazel Sally never replied to my letter, which is rude, I gotta say. Disregarding the difficulties of letter writing with my villagers, they really have a lot to be desired. I know villagers still get a lot of flack for being sort of boring. They pretend to hunt bugs and fish, but never succeed in catching anything. They sit around drinking smoothies and watching the clouds. They'll do little exercises and yoga. It's not a lot by any means, but it is easy to see the cracks in the facade and be aware of how not integral to your island the islanders actually are. But after this month on the Gamecube, I at least respect the attempt at giving these guys some life. Here they just exist. They stand still doing nothing for hours. I'll run past Barbara 4 times and she'll just be standing in the same spot, not looking at anything. At most, she'll turn and take a few steps to stand around doing nothing while facing a slightly different direction, but that's it. They'll chase a ball if one gets near them, they'll stare at fish and bugs, but they don't do anything, and it's more egregious when they're inside, often just facing a wall like a kid from a horror movie. It may not be a lot, but I sorely found myself missing the effort of having the villagers read books or chase after butterflies. Anything to have them pretend to do something with their day. At last, it was my final day in the village! Let's do a house tour. So here's the one room I've got. I got my gyroids, gambling addiction right next to the candy addiction. I can play Donkey Kong, which I'm really not good at. And then in my basement, I've got just shit. Just cool shit, and no room to put them in. I like the Master Sword. That one's fun. I went to Nook's and bought myself a model of a train car. I'd gotten a model of a track earlier, so this could go right next to it. I didn't know, however, that damn near everyone in the village would want to snake my new car model off of me. But I'm willing to trade you. Everyone wants the train car model. No. A lot of the villagers actually had something interesting to say today. Check out my spiffy outfit. I got it over at Tom Nook's. No, you didn't. I delivered that to you. Somebody gave that to you. It doesn't look expensive. You look like a picnic. Or maybe it just felt interesting since this was my final day in the village. After chatting with all the jerks who hated me for sending them a one-sentence letter, I headed to Blathers to see how much of the museum I'd managed to finish. Lackluster is how I'll describe this. Totally empty. Except for one painting. And it doesn't even tell me anything about it. Just says it was donated by me. No info on the painting or the artist. Also pretty lackluster. And a nearly complete fossil collection. All I'm missing is the T-Rex torso. What a shame. The village had one more surprise for me as I was wandering through the trees, too. What? Oh. I fell into a pitfall. Oh. What a nightmare. Seems the animals couldn't wait to be rid of me, huh? Let's take this train car that everyone wants so bad and take it somewhere else, yeah? Let's hop aboard. After spending a month in a game that I hold near and dear to my heart, I would by no means say I had a bad time replaying Animal Crossing. But I will say that seeing the game with new eyes has revealed just how little it really has to offer. Like how I discussed earlier, Animal Crossing ends up feeling a lot more monotonous and lifeless when compared to the franchise's newer games. I hate to say it, but it was sort of a slog to get through 1 month here. I had at first eagerly looked forward to how my perceived Yakuza narrative would play out, excited to regale you all with a dramatized version of the events of my playthrough, but swiftly it became clear that it wasn't really possible to push my sort of narrative onto the constant, mundane interactions the characters have with each other, especially since those interactions are exclusively via the borrowing of the same handful of items and are always off-screen. Even when villagers do actually interact with each other during gameplay, it's most often just one being gifted a shirt or phrase they don't like, and then the two are upset for a bit. They won't even tell you what it is exactly that got them so mad. There's just nothing these villagers can really offer beyond the same fetch quests every day. I've got a mighty imagination, and even I was unable to attribute any noteworthy elements to the 16 villagers I had, other than just deciding 2 of them were dating. I really wanted to spin a yarn and give you all a story to watch and enjoy, but there was no thread to do that with. Animal Crossing was great for its time, but too often it's just the exact same thing every day, and any interruption to the monotony will also prevent you from really getting to play. I think it's easy to take the quality of life changes found in New Horizons for granted sometimes. Character creation, a better decorating mechanic, villagers that at least pretend to do something during the day, the ability to decorate outside. I do recognize that ultimately New Horizons does leave a good amount to be desired, but I also recognize that I happily and easily have put like 100 hours or something into it, and I found it hard to finish 1 month of the Gamecube version. I think it's okay to still cherish this game, I know I still do, but I also think it's best to let it rest in the past. There are some things from here that would be cool to see return, like the police dogs, and more upgrades to Nook's Cranny. But not the mean villagers, that shit's stupid. New Horizons won't be receiving any more free updates, and by all accounts it wasn't really complete until the 2.0 update that happened just recently. But as always, I hope Nintendo has learned from all this and continues to try and provide a fun experience for the next Animal Crossing game, whenever that may be. But until then, it's time to say goodbye to my Gamecube village and all the assholes who inhabit it. None of them will be welcome on my island, well, except for one. She never replied to me, but I made a promise to Hazel Sally that she could run away with me, so for now, I'll keep my eyes open for her when I go island hopping. This video has been like cursed. Like every time I try to work on this video, some bad thing happens that I have no control over, and it's just, all it does is like put me in a panic and fills me with anxiety. Like Vincent ate that string, and that was terrifying. But also like I had someone leave a death threat in the comments, and recently there was like a tornado near the town I live in, and today, this morning, our lock broke. Our front door lock broke, and so we had to get that fixed, and they had to go through like 3 locks to fix that. Just, this whole video has been so cursed. I just want to finish this Animal Crossing video. Please, like, give it a like and share it with a friend or something, just because I've already lost like 5 years of my life due to stress working on this video, and it has had nothing to do with the video. Like, it hasn't been audio malfunctions or like losing save data or anything like that. It's just been like larger than me life problems. So yeah, share the video please, so that it's at least something good can happen out of this video.